Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Have You Ever Played podcast, the only podcast that has a custom popcorn bucket. I'm Matt, aka Matt Fondude, and who are you?
I'm James, aka James04E.
And James, you're giggling out the bat. I'm assuming you know about the Dune popcorn bucket, the Dune 2
Yes,
popcorn bucket.
yes, the much memed Dune 2 popcorn bucket.
Yeah, so I actually have seen Dune 2. We're not going to talk about it on the pod, because you have not seen Dune 2 yet, correct?
No, I'm probably gonna see it over the weekend.
Um, But yeah, I've seen Dune 2. I saw the Dune 2 popcorn bucket. I felt the tendrils of the bucket, and it is as weird as you think. For
Hmm.
those of you who don't know, or if you're listening to this any other time outside of like the week of this movie coming out, um, AMC Theaters released a popcorn bucket that is the Doom like sandworm, and it looks kind of phallic, and you can stick your hand in it, and there's tendrils that are like rubber in the mouth part. It's weird.
Um,
Uh,
I don't know if phallic is the right word.
okay, it's not phallic. It's
Yeah,
the reverse. What is the
it's
reverse of
the
phallic?
opposite of phallic.
It is whatever that is. It is that. Um,
Apparently, it's yonic.
sure, it is that. And
Huh.
yeah, it's interesting. It was something that I was unaware of until I was in line for the film. That it was a much talked about topic. I was aware of the Figment from Disney World slash Disneyland popcorn bucket fiasco.
Hmm.
If you're unfamiliar with that, there was a popcorn bucket. I think it might have even been COVID time, like 2020, where they had a limited release popcorn bucket of Figment's head, and people were waiting in like 8-hour lines to get it to try to like scalp it and stuff. And then they made a
Hmm.
new popcorn bucket recently. I never knew that people cared about custom popcorn buckets before, but I guess there's a weird collectible thing for it. Although they never sell, so
Hmm.
I don't know. It's one of those things.
Yep.
Anyway, besides Dune, James, what have you been up to? We haven't had a pod in a hot minute, so we have some. I feel like
Yes.
there's been some developments.
Yeah, I've gotten into Helldivers 2 a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, you've probably already heard a lot about it. It's a really
What's
fun
so
game.
funny is I haven't heard. I know the name Helldivers 2. I know nothing about that game at all. So you please tell
Yeah.
me what is that game, because I might buy it. I know nothing about it, and in any way. I've not
Hmm.
seen a frame of gameplay.
Okay, so it's a third-person shooter,
Mm-hmm.
inspired by Starship Troopers. The idea is that you play as a group of disposable like troops that drop in on what are called hell pods, or just like these. It's like the ODST in Halo, kind of. They just drop you in from pods. You actually look like ODST too, which is interesting. Yeah, drop you in from pods on like alien planets, and you are meant to liberate them for Super Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are two. I guess they're technically not alien. You're not only fighting aliens, but there's two main threats at the moment. The Terminids, which are like these giant bugs, and
Mm-hmm.
the Automatons, which are just robots, like Terminator bots. Um, and so, a main difference between them is that the Terminids almost exclusively use melee attacks. Um, and so you're kind of like, but most of the threat is getting swarmed in melee range, whereas the automatons use guns, and they generally have like armor that you need to pierce through. The Terminids do as well, but I would say that the automatons you have to focus a lot more on weak points. You can't really brute force your way through the armor as much. That's just from my experience. It's probably a little different on like the highest difficulties, and also if you're not using good guns, because I generally use guns that are like not terrible, so that I actually have armor penetration. I don't need to wait until I have an airstrike up to kill anything. Um, but yeah, it's been really fun. It's a really great game to play with friends, and I guess the main mechanic that's going on with the game is the stratagem system. The idea is that you can call in like drop pods, airstrikes, different sorts of equipment, like in lots of other games of a similar genre. But the difference is you need to put in like button codes for them. So what you do is you basically hold down the stratagem button, which is like control by default, I think, and you have to do like up, up, down, down, right, or something like that to put it in. And you can imagine, like, as you're getting swarmed by a bunch of like giant alien bugs, it's quite difficult to do that. So like part of the charm is like you're putting in these complex codes under a lot of pressure,
That's pretty fun.
and yeah, it is heavily encouraged to do the game in co-op because it's really difficult to do solo, and the game has a really strong sense of community, I guess. So first of all, if you look outside of the window of your ship, which you can name, by the way, there's a prefix and a suffix that you can choose at the start for your name. There's like 50 of each, so there's like some crazy combinations you can do there. Um, and so when you're like looking out the window of your ship, you can see like on the planet you can see like airstrikes going down. You can see other ships, and those are actual players.
That's cool.
And you can also, if you look up during missions, you can see like airstrikes in the distance and ships and stuff like that. Um, and as you're liberating these planets, kind of pushing the bar of liberation to the right or to the left. As I said, like really strong sense of community. Like there's this one planet called Malevelon Creek, and the whole thing with that planet was that it looked like Vietnam, and it
Oh,
was a planet where you fought the automatons. So you can imagine, right? You're just walking around, you're getting jumped by robots. There were all these memes of people saying, "Oh my god, the trees are speaking binary."
hmm.
Um, and so people were fighting on it for a while. They kind of almost got to the point where it was liberated, and then they woke up one morning and it was just at 0%. And everybody's like,
Oh,
"What the fuck happened? Why?" And it's like there are all these memes about like, remember the tragedy of the creek and
did
stuff like
so.
that.
So are these planets? Is this almost like a Planet Side 2 thing where everyone's like on a server working toward the same goal?
Not necessarily. So it's up to 4-player co-op. There's no competitive PvP aspect to the game. It's all PvE, and so it's not necessarily on the same server. I don't know exactly how it works, to be honest, but the general idea is every time you complete a mission on the planet, um, you kind of make the liberation meter go up a little bit, like very very small percentages, like as an individual, but you get the idea that you're like contributing to like a greater cause. Uh,
Hmm.
and then you get a bunch of propaganda telling you about how good of a job you're doing, stuff like that. Um,
Now, I'm looking at Helldivers 1
oh
because
yeah, Helldives Run is quite different.
I was like, what? Is there actually like? Is there? I just heard of Helldivers 2, and I'm like, is there a one? And one is a
Yeah.
twin stick hardcore shooter.
Yes.
That's bizarre.
Yeah. I actually, one of my friends wanted to play Helldivers 1 like before Helldivers 2 came out. I don't even know if he had like heard of the game, and he like
Hmm.
gifted me the game, and then we just kind of never played it. It's like I do have it in my library, so maybe I'll play it one day. But yeah, Helldivers 2, shit ton of fun. I'm trying to think of anything else. I guess just generally they just do a good job with immersion in that game. The way that your characters react to like getting knocked around or getting blown up is really really cool and realistic. The animations are great, audio is great. Um, they really sell the feeling of you being a hyper disposable soldier fighting for democracy. And yeah, like there's lots of tiny mechanics, like how the reloads work in that game, where it's you reload entire clips instead of like bullets. So if you
Oh, I
reload too
kind of
early,
don't
you
like
like lose
that.
the mag. So it actually works in this game
Hmm.
because you're intended to have very limited resources. Um, they do replenish when you die. How respawning works is that if you have four players, you get 20 redeploys, or I think they're called reinforcements because technically the idea is that when you die, it's not the same character coming back. Like by default, you can choose your character's voice, but by default, it's like randomized.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, you get 20 reinforcements. You have to put in your stratagem code for it, of course. So like when you're the last guy and you're getting swarmed and all your teammates are yelling at you to revive them, it's really funny. Um, but yeah, when you get reinforced, you get all your ammo and stuff back. But if you had like backpack stratagem or like power weapon stratagem, so like for example, there's one where it's called a guard dog rover. It's this little bot that'll follow you around with like a laser gun.
Hmm.
And you wear a backpack to like refill the ammo on it or reload it. And if you die, it gets dropped where you died. So you either have to wait for your stratagem cooldown to call in a new one, or you need to pick it up like by going back to your body and like retrieving your stuff. And yeah, it's just really fun to play with friends and like have honestly comically limited resources. Like it is actually insane how first of all how little damage some of the guns do, and second of all how little ammo they give you. To the point where you're almost encouraged to die. Like there
Hmm.
are you can call in a resupply like every 6-7 minutes, I think, but it's usually not going to be enough, and it's also stationary.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, and also another thing I think the game does really well. This might be the last thing is so they have a guy like that works at the studio who effectively manages the liberation percentages. So what happened with the Malevelon Creek thing is he woke up in the middle of the night and just said, "Hey, they're kind of close. What if I just turn this to 0?" And it's like he's selling the whole narrative that like, oh, the automatons fought back or whatever.
Interesting, I
And yeah,
guess.
it's cool because it really strengthens the sense of community because now everybody hates that guy.
Yeah,
And
and
I think his name was like Greg or something, and everybody's like, "Fuck Greg." It's
what's weird is like percentage. What would happen? So were they? Was that a case of they were doing it too quick? We don't want someone to do this that early. Let's
no,
reset it.
no, I just did it for fun.
So have people gotten 100%? What happens when you 100% liberate a planet?
When you 100% liberate a planet, it just shows up as liberated. You can't do missions on it anymore, and it's kind of like there's like a map of the galaxy with like super Earth at the middle, and your
Hmm.
area just kind of expands as you liberate planets.
Is there
Um,
decay on that? Like, will it eventually unliberate?
um, so if there are nearby planets that aren't liberated, I believe if you don't defend those planets properly, then the automatons or the Terminids can kind of encroach on the liberated area, and you have to do like defense missions.
Hmm.
And the defense missions are either just eliminate a certain amount or like escort some like scientists or something out off of the planet, things like that. And they're also kind of so one cool thing that they're doing right now with the whole liberation system is obviously as with many games, stuff got leaked, and one of the major leaks was that they're adding mechs to the game.
Oh, I'll Titanfall.
Yeah, and so instead of trying to like suppress that, they basically said like, hey, if you guys liberate this planet that like with the mech making factory, you'll get mechs. And
Oh,
so now everybody's just on the planet and they're just trying to liberate it as like fast as possible because everybody really wants the mechs. And some people are theorizing that if we don't liberate it, aka if Greg or whatever his name is feeling feisty one night, they'll introduce a new automaton enemy because there's a Terminid enemy called the Bile Titan, which is like this giant like four-legged armored bug.
hmm.
And like there are missions where your sole objective is just to kill that, and there's not really a robot equivalent. So people are like, well, certainly there's going to be one eventually, so they're probably just going to add it. Um, so yeah, I don't know. It's just really fun to kind of be part of the community doing all that stuff.
That seems
I
like a pretty
guess
cool way to do a live service game.
yeah.
I've seen them getting a lot of good press in news headlines and stuff,
Hmm.
and how
Yeah,
the game is priced at, I believe, was it $40
yeah, it's $40. I
rather
think.
than 70, which is I feel like a very like
Yeah,
um
the $70 game epidemic.
yeah, I think a $40 price tag on a game like this is a kind of a marketing maneuver. You know what I mean?
A little bit.
Um.
So I also do think, to be fair, unless you're like super duty bound with this game, I think it's like a. This might be a bit of an exaggeration. Maybe it's like a 100-hour game. Maybe a little, probably a little less. You know,
Hmm.
it's like you play the game, you get all the stuff, all the cool stuff you want. You use the cool stuff for a bit, liberate some planets with friends, and then it's like you probably only come back for like game night with the boys or something. It's probably not something you would hop on like every day necessarily.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I think the only negative thing that's happened in the community is they did a patch recently. You know, the classic it's the classic scenario where it's a PvE game and they nerfed stuff.
Hmm.
So the problem that people were having before was that there were a few weapons and a few stratagems that were just like really strong, and the other ones felt like really, really weak.
Hmm.
And so I believe what's happening is their intent was for the difficulty of the game to be more in line with those really weak stratagem
Hmm.
and weapons. So they brought the really strong ones down a bit and didn't. they changed some of the weak ones a little, like the super weak ones, like the literally
Hmm.
unpickable ones. They changed, and so some of those are kind of more viable now. But for the most part, what people focus on is that the strong stuff got nerfed, and there was some mild outrage to which they basically said like, we intended for the players to be really reliant on their stratagem in this game. We know it like sucks, but these guns were very much like above our intended, or I guess technically below our intended difficulty curve. So like
Hmm.
they really had to do something about it. And they're releasing they're releasing more stuff soon. So like there will be other more gun options. People are they didn't just complain about the guns not being necessarily that strong, but also there's not as much variety as some people might have liked.
Hmm.
And I think they announced a new battle pass, which will have some guns. And the way they do their battle
This.
passes is actually pretty cool.
Hmm.
Where it's in missions. By completing like a series of missions, uh, you'll get medals, which will let you acquire stuff in the battle pass. And in missions, you can also find medals like just in the world by exploring. And you can also find the premium currency by exploring.
Oh, that's cool.
And so by
Is
default, there's a free battle pass, and then there's a fully separate one with like separate things. I think it's like effectively $10, but with the premium currency you get from the free battle pass, you're like maybe $2 off or something from being able to buy it.
hmm.
And the stuff in the paid battle pass isn't actually like that strong. Like the really strong stuff you get from the regular one. The stuff in the paid one is mostly it's like armor sets that are similar to existing ones, but they're just cosmetically different.
Yeah.
So like maybe you like the look better. And then there are some weapons that are like decent, but I would say they're generally worse than the default ones.
Hmm. Yeah, I can imagine that that game is one of those games where I'm considering maybe playing it. But like Lethal Company,
Hmm.
it's a game that's like, oh, it came out, or Pal World, which I think I want to go back to Pal World, but like, oh, look, the flavor of the month kind of game, and I'll play it. I'll buy it now, play it for like 3 days, and then I'm just gonna completely drop it. So
Hmm.
I mean, maybe I'll wait on it, but then it's a live service. It's kind of a tough balance because it's like,
Yeah.
do I wait and then join in on like a bad patch, or I should just play it now while everyone's playing it.
Yeah, so thankfully, Helldivers 2 does patches like usually every few days.
Hmm.
Um, some are just like bug fixes and stuff like that, but I think generally they've done a decent job of giving like new stuff to experience. Like the game came out 3 weeks ago, about 3, 4 weeks ago, and we're already getting like now we're getting like a new battle pass next week, and then they've obviously got the thing where like people can unlock are going to be unlocking mechs soon and probably some new enemies. Um, the roadmap, from what I understand, isn't as cut and dry as some other live service games. They're kind of adding stuff when it's done for the most part, or either that or they're like strategically holding stuff back to release at like a good time, like the mech thing. So I think that they very much have like their finger on the pulse with like what the community wants and like when they want stuff to be released.
Hmm.
Also it definitely helps that the CEO is very based. He said when there were server problems initially, because obviously the game blew up, right? They didn't expect their servers to have like this many people trying to get on, so like a bunch of people just couldn't play because the servers were full. And the CEO basically said like, yeah, don't buy the game.
Hmm.
He was like, you're not gonna be able to play, just don't buy it.
Did you see? Speaking of, don't buy the game. Did you see there was a couple fake Steam entries for Helldivers
Yeah,
2
yeah,
that
I did see that.
people were buying, and Valve actually pulled and banned them
Hmm.
and refunded the money, thankfully, to people. But that's crazy that there's like that level of not being able to, the lack of moderation in that regard. Um, it's a little crazy. I understand there's so much stuff getting uploaded to Steam with the barrier of entry being like pay $100, and now it'll be
Yeah,
on Steam. And I was thinking about this the other day. Do you remember when Steam used to have when Steam launched and it was basically just the Valve game launcher?
Yeah.
But then it had Steam Greenlight. Remember that time where it was like a little bit? It was before Steam Greenlight and during the Steam Greenlight era of Steam, where
Hmm.
um, it was kind of a curated experience where everything on Steam. It was kind of like what people said about Blizzard, where it's like, oh, everything on Steam is a guaranteed good game. Do you remember that time?
Yeah.
Um, I think there's cool things. There was cool things to reminisce about that, where it's like, yeah, you always were kind of guaranteed quality. I do think, despite having like a lot of garbage and asset flip games and scams, it's kind of better that anyone can put anything on Steam. Just because, like, it's really tough for me to want to go to like another website and pay money for a video game. Do you know what I mean? Like, I would
Yeah, I agree.
very much go out of my way not to do that.
Yeah, I think it's just the convenience because like consoles don't have this problem, right? Like they launch their games from the same thing always.
Hmm.
I think it's both a good thing and a bad thing about PC gaming that it's like that, and it's probably never going to go back to being like everything is just on Steam.
Hmm.
Like I very much highly doubt we're going to go in the opposite in that direction. I think it's going to be the opposite if anything. Um, but yeah, I miss it sometimes. It was nice. It was
Yeah,
nice living in those days.
kind of like how the like Netflix started off very strong where you could watch a lot of things, and now it's basically cable again where, oh, I want to watch this movie. Like, I think
Hmm.
Terminator 1 and 2 are on completely different streaming services. Like, you can't
Yeah.
watch, I know 2 is on like randomly on one of these things, but 1 isn't on there. It's like, I don't know. The biggest annoyances so far with me for the Epic Games versus Steam thing has been like Kingdom Hearts, where that's been held hostage on Epic Games still, and I
Hmm.
wanted to play those games, and it's just like I don't want to just it's just another launcher, and now with the Steam Deck, it's actually annoying because you have to do workarounds to get the games to work on the Steam Deck.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. It's just not. It's a weird thing to be like, oh, let's have. I want Valve to be like the monopoly and have everything, and not have options. But it's just so. It's such a good service and so much better than all the other services.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. It's. Ugh. But anyway,
Yeah. I
we're getting
mean,
a little off topic here.
yeah. I don't know. It's tough because it's like we everybody would obviously like for everything to be as good as Steam, but there's nobody to that can regulate that, and honestly, people have the right to want to compete.
Well, I don't want it to be as good as Steam. Like, that's the problem. And I know there was like the good old games, like good GOG Galaxy launcher, which I don't think is even a thing anymore. And there's like another third
Yeah, I'm
party
not sure if
launcher.
it is.
There's another third party launcher that like takes all your information and displays the games, but those never seem to work properly.
Hmm.
Um, and at that point, it's also just so annoying to deal with. But splitting your game library, like I have so many Twitch games and stuff, Amazon free Twitch games, I will just never remember that I have, and I will just probably buy them on sale on Steam.
Yeah.
It's just too much to deal with in terms of organization. Um, and that's a big. I think there's a lot of people who are probably like this where I like organizing my games collections and digital collections, and I like to like give them fun front ends and download metadata and like make things look nice,
Hmm.
and that's a fun thing. But for like PC games, it really sucks. Like trying to track down everything and like remembering accounts. Like I had to buy. I was playing the Avatar Pandora, Frontier of Pandora, whatever the game, Far Cry Avatar,
Oh man, that game.
which is the most mid. It's like it is fine. It's if you want to play Far Cry with Avatar skin, it is that. It's fine. Um, and that game was Epic Games, and it was like on UPlay. So I had to buy it on UPlay because it was on sale.
Hmm.
I think it just had come out, so I think it was on sale for like $60 or $50, which is insane because it was like a $70 game. And I'm like, I could get it on Epic Games, which sucks, but I'll buy it through. It's not even UPlay anymore. It's like I'll buy it through Ubisoft Connect, I'm like, this sucks. Like having
Oh
to
man,
having to
Ubisoft
buy it
Connect.
through that specifically is so bad.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I've had things where if it's not on a launcher that I'm using, I just won't play the game. I
Hmm.
think a lot of people are like that.
Yeah. Speaking of launchers,
Mm-hmm.
the other game I played this week was or I guess other game I played over the last few weeks was Apex Legends. They had a new update.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, it was funny. The Apex update came out at the exact same time as the Overwatch update, and
Oh,
they
okay.
and they both pretty much had the same intent.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like they're trying to kind of clean up the game and make it more accessible, improving the rank system, stuff like that. And major thing that Apex added was they added a perk system where the general idea is that previously they had instead of regular shields like some other games have, they have Evo shields where but you can level up the shield by doing damage. And there are still shields on the ground. So you could like find a purple shield if you like high rolled and just do a bunch of damage and get to like the highest tier. Or you could be on a white shield and kind of keep working your way up until you get to the highest tier from like the lowest one. Um, but how they change it now is that everybody starts with white shields. There are no shields on the ground, and you level up your shields by doing damage, um, by killing PVE, by collecting what are called Evo harvesters, which are these little. I don't know how to describe them besides they're like juice boxes. They're big juice boxes that just spawn around the map. 15 of them will spawn on the map like 30 seconds into the game. And from what I understand, the locations are randomized. There are so many different ones that it might as well be randomized. You're never going to remember them. Um, and thankfully, they're picked up on like an individual team basis. So like if somebody else picks up an Evo Harvester, you can get it as well. It's not like they can just like steal it. Um, and so the basic idea now is that you have to go around the map and do a bunch of stuff, not necessarily just fighting, but you can't like run to zone and just kind of sit there and expect to win because because of all the different ways you can level up Evo now, the number requirements are higher than before, where you would need to do an unreasonable amount of damage to actually get to max level. So you do need to do like all the side quests and stuff like that. And each time you level, or not each time, when you level up to level 2 and level 3, you get to choose a perk for your character. And it's just a simple choice. It's one of two, basically. So it's kind of like a talent system that other games would have. And yeah, initially there was lots of experimentation, but now it's been a few weeks and we're kind of at the point where everybody is like, well, we know what to take. Generally, we know what the better option is. But it's still fun to have like little upgrades along the way for your characters. Some of them are just really fun in general, so you get to kind of have something to look forward to as you're playing the game. Um, and yeah, I mean the balance changes were good and stuff. There are some issues, like for example, Caustic, the trademark poison character, is strong. We all know we love poison characters, right? I remember the last time a poison character wasn't meta. I wished it was meta.
Oh
Man,
yeah, like
crazy
For
times.
Honor. Any game, yeah, any game with damage over time, poison, or full stealth, classic, great, super not hard to balance characters that are either the most broken thing or the useless piece of garbage in
Yeah,
all games.
I love being eternally poisoned and slowed, and then just dying slowly.
What a fun mechanic.
It's my favorite part of video games, and I definitely think it shouldn't be entirely removed. I think the crazy thing is most of these poison characters, it's like it's all they do. Like if you were to hypothetically be immune to the poison, they would literally do nothing. Their value would be zero.
You know, actually, now that you say that, you know what Overwatch did? They at to Sombra, the invisible character, they actually added a poison element where now she when you use the hack, it like does dot, it does damage over time too. So she is now also a
Classic.
poison character who
Damn.
goes invisible. Just I don't understand. I'm not to cut off your Apex talk, but I just don't understand why in Overwatch that Sombra, the character of Sombra, is such a terrible idea for a character. Where it's just
Yeah.
like let's make a character that is as annoying to play against as possible. It's not even like necessarily good or bad. It's just you're gonna have a bad time playing against them. It's
Yeah.
just
I
not fun. It's never a fun experience.
Yeah, I think the core issue is just the permanent invisibility. It's really weird to balance.
Well, it's the gameplay of just like run in, get shot, and you might not even die. It's just like the whole game, you're just gonna be annoyed, or you really need to swap immediately to figure something out, or they'll just
Hmm.
completely invalidate like a pick. Like, oh, I was playing Widow. It's like, okay, they went Sombro. I guess I'll switch, and then it just becomes like musical chairs of switching. But that's an
The Overwatch
Overwatch 2
Classic.
problem.
Yeah,
Anyway, back to Apex Legends. Uh,
yeah,
it sounds like what they did was good though with the shields, because I can't imagine having
yeah,
randomized shields was very fun before.
yeah. It wasn't so. It was a lot less fun before they introduced the Evo shields because it used to be you would get your shield and that's like what you have for the game.
Yeah, like
unless
that
unless
doesn't
you killed
sound
somebody with
great.
a better shield and took it, like that was you were cooked.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and they've speaking of killing people and taking their shields, they actually did a really cool thing with the way that the leveling mechanics work. Where so let's say so the levels go white shield, blue shield, purple shield, then red. And so
Hmm.
let's say I have a blue shield and I kill somebody with purple. A couple things will happen. First of all, I get the evo for shooting them and doing damage to them. I get a bonus underdog bonus for actually like killing somebody with a better shield. I get a bonus for just knocking somebody in general, or if I assisted with the knock. Um, but then if I go to their death box and take their shield, it'll give me a purple shield, but for 30 seconds, and then the like extra bit of shield will decay, and I'll be back down to my blue shield. And also, if I were to switch to a lower level shield, then it would effectively be like I'm on my current shield, just I can heal up the health to a higher value.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't play Apex and I have it installed. I'm ready to try again.
Hmm.
But that sounds to me like a more enjoyable system overall, and I
Yeah,
could get behind that.
yeah. There'd
It,
be some really sad scenarios previously where you would have like a red shield or something, and then you get your shield cracked. You would kill somebody, and you'd swap to their shield, and it'd be lower level, and then you have to like run away. So it's like
yeah.
my red shield's just permanently gone. It's not like I can go back and heal it because somebody's there.
Hmm. Well,
You just
it's
be
just
sad.
also silly that I feel like I feel like you can have worse guns, but still they might have their uses. Like, oh, okay, well this gun isn't great, but it's like, okay, maybe I can use it in this scenario, or I can make it work. Having just the shield is just like a health. It's just a number, and if the
Yeah,
opponent just gets lucky and has the bigger number, that is such a more of an advantage, I would imagine, that
yeah,
it's like, yeah, we need to make this a little more even across the board, because I feel like your matches will feel more fair. Like you'll feel more impactful every match.
yeah. Generally speaking, when I've run into people with higher level shields, it hasn't been nearly as frustrating because it usually means that they just moved around the map better. So like it's not like they just lucked out or something like that, like
Hmm.
it could be previously. And obviously, if you're just good at collecting all the stuff that gives you Evo, you'll pretty consistently have high level shields, and you don't need to worry about like low rolling on loot as much.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and then besides that, they changed the rank system. It's really hard to explain, but effectively, the last few seasons they had a different system where you were matched with other people based on MMR and not necessarily your current rank. They like made those two things separate, and they also had like a much bigger emphasis on placement, where it was if you got into the top 10 out of 20 squads, you effectively wouldn't lose rank. Like you could only go neutral or go up depending on how many kills you had and stuff like that. Whereas now how it works is placement will still give you like points, but by default there's like an entry cost for so for each rank they have like higher entry costs as you go up. And so you're working to offset the entry cost, and placement will give you points, but you need kills as well because your kills get multiplied by your placement effectively. So like somebody that wins a game with 3 kills will probably get less rank points than somebody who gets second with like 9 kills or something like that.
Hmm. Competitive is hard to balance. Like, what
Yeah,
it's just hard to make everybody happy, and I'm glad I don't have to be the person who does it. But would you say that the changes are well received
Yeah,
overall?
I think generally speaking, I don't think people I've seen people really complain about the system itself. It's more been this season. It's more been complaints about cheaters, to be honest. Um, that's for a few reasons. So first of all, with the last system that they did, they increased the required rank or the required level to play ranked from level 20 to level 50.
Hmm.
And so each level in Apex roughly translates to an hour of playtime. So level 50 was kind of high. Uh,
Yeah.
but part of the intent was, first of all, they wanted to make lower rank games like higher quality because people that actually know how to play the game at that point. But they also were trying to mitigate cheating a bit
Hmm.
because what cheaters would do is they would create fresh accounts, and some people would basically sell like level 20 accounts or something like that so that you just kind of just get back on after they got banned. And so they reduced it to 20 again, which I do think, not considering cheaters, level 20s is strictly better, but
Hmm.
with the state of cheaters, it's kind of rough, especially for like higher level players, because cheaters tend to target them a lot more. Like they target their favorite streamers and stuff like that, or I guess favorite in in air quotes, because obviously if you like somebody, you won't be rage cheating to and killing them in their ranked games
You
necessarily.
say that, but people are very weird.
Yeah, some people are psychopaths. That is true.
Hmm. Well, anyway, out of the Apex zone, I'm gonna briefly talk about Overwatch 2 as it was something I did in my week, but like the
Hmm.
briefest, like 2 seconds of chatter about it because I haven't kept up too much with the news. Um,
Hmm.
I've played some of the balancing patch. It's interesting. Everyone has a healing passive, a diminished healing passive outside of combat.
Hmm.
The DPS like have a anti-heal passive as they're like attacking people, and the hitboxes got crazy and everything hitbox got bigger and they've made them a little bit smaller again. But
Hmm.
I think overall I've been playing DPS and having fun. I think it's a fun time to play DPS right now. It feels like a lot
Yeah.
of stuff you do hits and it feels kind of good. Tank feels like garbage to play, and as usual,
The
that's the problem.
classic.
It's like DPS feels really good now, and then tank feels so bad, and
Yeah.
then support is weird because like Moira is one of the best characters right now. Just as a weird, just Moira has a like really strong. Moira can do a lot of really strong things for a character that requires pretty much zero mechanical skill. Well, it literally requires like
Hmm.
no mechanical skill basically.
Yeah.
Um, and as someone who's played Moira, and I enjoy Moira like a little bit, I kind of enjoy other characters more, but like I can find the fun in it. But it is just like it's just kind of an annoying. It's annoying to die to a character like that.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's important to have them, I guess, because like people I know who play Overwatch, I know some people who are pretty bad at video games and pretty bad at first person shooters, and they gravitate toward like Moira and Mercy, which is not to say that they're bad because, you know, you can actually be really good at both of those characters. It's just they will play those characters and kind of play them badly. But with
Yeah.
Moira, you can get away with it a little bit more, like being super aggressive, just diving back lines and like not healing anyone and getting
Yeah.
like you could still get like gold or well you could still get like 1,000 kills and be like the kill leader on your team and like lose horribly.
Hmm.
Um, but it's just really it's annoying to die to just like you see a Moira running up to you and your DPS and they're just like an almost unstoppable force sometimes. Although
Hmm.
luckily I've been playing like Sojourn and stuff and like you can just like blast them with a right click and kill them like instantly. But
Hmm.
um, I don't know. You die to that sometimes, and it's just not. It ain't it. But anyway, Overwatch 2 is a dumpster fire. It's kind of fun to play right now, but it's always a consistent dumpster
Yeah.
fire.
I have some friends that have been playing it as well. I kind of got a similar vibe from them. None of them play tank, funnily enough.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. Taking Overwatch 2 is always gonna. I want to say it's always gonna be either unbelievably good or unbelievably bad, but I feel like ever since like season 2 or something. All I've
Hmm.
heard has been unbelievably bad.
Well, Malga came out and the
Oh
tank
yeah,
was
yeah, there
great
was Mauga.
for
Okay.
like a week, and now I had a person play Malga the other day. I'm only playing quick play, by the way, which is actually sweatier
Yeah.
than comp, but um, which I and by that term I mean I'm playing super try hard anyway, so I
Hmm.
can't, I'm not like being a jerk about anyone. Um, so we had a teammate who was playing Malga, and I'm like, oh, why? And they like went out of spawn, and it's just like they instantly died. It's just like you can't do anything. Like why like there's
Unfortunate,
did they not hear the news? Like why play this character? There's no point to play this character right now. They're absolute
man.
dog. Yeah, Overwatch 2. I don't want to talk about Overwatch 2.
Yeah.
I want to talk about a real. I'll talk about. I have three topics that I want to touch on. Do you want
Hmm.
the PlayStation 3 gaming topic, the classic like computer in the library room sort of gaming topic, or the not a video game at all topic?
Um, guess the not a video game at all one first. Actually, wait. I just remembered something about my week that I want to talk about really quickly.
Okay,
Um,
what's your
yes,
maybe we'll
there was
segue.
a yeah, there was a Dota update, and it was quite cool because Valve did two things with this. Uh, First, they released a like a blog. They occasionally do this blog called Between the Lanes, which is like a kind of behind the scenes thing on the dev process. And they talked about how they solved a DDoS problem that the game was having back in like 2015 or something like that. That was pretty cool. Good read. Uh, yeah, if you're interested in hearing about how to prevent DDoS attacks, you should read it.
Hmm.
And another thing that they did is they released an experimental tab in the options menu where there are basically these settings that they've play tested and they kind of got like a 50-50 on whether it was good or not. So they kind of released it to the player base to get to get a lot more data on it and also a lot more feedback. And so currently they've got three things in there. There's one where you can basically overlay your map onto the middle of your screen by like pressing a button so you don't have to look into like the bottom left corner.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's like semi-transparent. Um so yeah, that's been I haven't played Dota very much. I just kind of turn the game on, like checked these out really quick. But yeah, that looks really cool. Um there's one where you can filter your keybinds, where it's effectively misclick protection. And what you can do is you can hold down a button and then press the ability button, and it'll limit what it can target. So, for example, if you have a stun on your character, like a targeted stun, and you don't want to target creeps, you only want to target enemy heroes, you can say, okay, I hold down control and then press like Q, and this ability will only target heroes. So
Oh, that
I
sounds
can't,
really
yeah.
useful.
So it's like I can't misclick on creeps if I'm like trying to stun somebody in lane.
That honestly that doesn't even sound just like useful. That sounds like necessary.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool thing to add because I mean Dota's like a 20-year-old game at this point, and there are probably thousands of clips of people misclicking their really important spell on a creep.
Yeah, and like there's pretty much zero time you would ever want to do that intentionally.
Yeah. And then the last one is more a quality of life thing where it changes. It tries to improve the readability of specifically your health bar and like mana bar, like above your character's head. So like if you're in the middle of a chaotic fight, it makes it a lot clearer that like you're dying,
Hmm.
so you don't like get surprised or something if you're just focused on something else. Which that one's mostly quality of life. I haven't personally found I haven't personally found that I had problems with it, but some people who can like tunnel vision on stuff, it might help a lot. So yeah, from what I understand, this is like it's meant to be like a series of things that they're gonna do like over time, and some of these might become permanent, some might not, depending on both like feedback and how they think it impacts the like health of the game. But I think it's a really cool thing for them to try out. I think it'd be nice if a lot of other games did it because it's not like what Overwatch used to have where it was like a PTR or like a playtest client, but it's like literally sort of quality of life stuff implemented into the main client. Like you could argue they're not quality of life, but for the most part, these are things that just make it easier to play and maybe it makes it so much easier that you have to do it, but it's not straight up like you do more. I don't know, like you get a free item or something like that, right?
Well,
It's just
stuns one sounds like that. I mean, map is that's like
yeah,
personal preference.
yeah. I mean, the stuns one you could argue, just don't misclick forehead.
Yeah, but then why would I not play on like misclick turned off mode?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I
So,
guess yeah, since it is a keybind, you can like kind of optimize it where it's like sometimes you might not want to have it on.
for when
But
you
yeah.
want to miss your stuns.
Well, no. There's some times
No,
where
I
like
know
you
what
want
you
to use,
mean.
yeah, you want to use the ability
Use
to
your
farm
skills
creeps or
on
something.
creeps.
But
Yeah.
but yeah, yeah, I really like the idea. I think some of them may be like really cool, but not good for the game. Like
hmm
I don't know, like maybe they find out that the map one is bad because people are because people keep always having it on and they just don't actually look at their screen. Like maybe the player base is just stupid. Maybe that's what's gonna happen. But
Or like a Diablo veteran will come to the game and
yeah,
sweep everyone with their
yeah.
ability to look at the screen.
Yeah, but some pro players were talking about. They said like it's really cool. It may be it may be that all the what they call nerds just have more toys to play with. Um,
It's good. It's good to have
but yeah,
options. I think options have never been a bad thing to have
hmm
in games, more especially with accessibility stuff.
yeah. Dota is a very inaccessible game, so like anything they
Yeah,
can
it
do to make
is.
it more beginner friendly is definitely good. I think the like if I had to say one is gonna have the biggest impact, I actually think it'd be the map thing because some people just can't force themselves into the habit of just like looking into the bottom left of their screen. Whereas like if you told me like, hey, press F1 every time you kill a creep or something, like just do it, right? That's that's a bit of an easier habit to digest for some people.
What's funny, my pet peeve of Dota is that I want to play locked camera. You can, but
Hmm.
it's bad. Like I don't like being having to like unlock my camera, and like I get this like dissonance thing where my characters I never really played RTS games, so my character moving with my camera not following them, it just like it
Yeah.
doesn't work.
Hmm.
Um and that's like a fundamental aspect of the game. So yeah, I don't know. We don't need the Matt doesn't like enjoy those type of games conversation again. What games I do enjoy, and is this one's not a game at all, and I'll go into this because you
Ooh.
asked for this topic. I've been watching, so I think I've mentioned this, and this all started from the Suicide Squad video game,
Hmm.
and I didn't play that game, but I keep getting YouTube shorts of it, and I kind of have been enjoying some of the stuff I've seen, and it's kind of like not great, but I think that game's getting a bad rap, and there's some of it is cool, and maybe I'll find out because I started my journey on a delve into the DC animated universe
Ooh.
because
Good
I
choice.
haven't really. I've also been getting a lot of DC animated clips from all different shows
Actually, wait. So
and
DC
movies.
animated. So is it the DC AMU or the DC AU?
I'm
Big
starting
difference.
with Batman the animated series.
Okay,
So
that's
what does that mean?
the ammo is animated movie universe, so
Okay,
it's like Justice like the I don't I'm having a trouble thinking of like the movie
all
names now,
the
but like
different Phantasm, Mask of the Phantasm. I don't. Is that's a one? That's a name
no
of
no, no
one.
Mask of the Phantasm
Isn't
was a
that in
movie for the
this
yeah I
for
think it
the
was
show?
yeah I
For
think it was for Batman the animated series. That's
I
actually part
believe
of the
so.
just regular animated universe, but it's really funny that you bring up that you're starting that because I had just yesterday I thought like wow I kind of want to like go through this entire thing sometime because I had watched so I watched Batman the animated series
hmm
on I can't remember what channel was showing the reruns for it. It was either Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon. It was one of the
hmm
two. Or maybe it was Disney. I
It's
don't know.
probably Cartoon Network.
But something was like showing reruns of it and also like they had Batman Beyond and stuff and I had got in most of the episodes, but there were like gaps I was missing. I'm like, oh, you know what? I was watching this when I was like 11. I might as well just rewatch the whole thing. Then I was like, huh, I wonder what the watching order between this and like Superman the animated series is, and like the Justice League series and all that stuff.
hmm
There's lots of bizarre ones out there. Like one was recommending you watch Batman Beyond last because it's
Mm.
chronologically the last, but there's a crossover episode with it in Justice League
hmm
where it basically like spoils the ending of the series, and it's like, well, that's really weird. Why would I watch this last? Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
but. but yeah, I have the watching order. What I hope is the proper one. Probably won't get to it for a while because there's lots of other stuff I need to watch before that. But
So wait, let's compare. Well, I also have a watching order. Let's see if we have the same one because I probably don't. Because I saw there were several. It is a Reddit thread entitled "The
ooh,
Absolute Complete Viewing Order of Every Single DC Animated Show slash Movie."
okay.
That is the
Um,
watch order I am going off of.
I think
And you know what's wild? I'm watching these all on HBO on Max because
yeah,
Max
that's
has
what I'm gonna
basically
do
all
as
of the
well.
content, which is great.
Yeah, Max has all
Um,
the DC stuff. It's really nice.
yeah,
For once, everything is in one place.
I know it's great, and like that's why I'm like, oh, I can watch it. What's wild though is with Batman the animated series, the show airing is not at all like the original airing. It is a weird mixed up version that I guess they used on some like physical releases, but it starts with like episode 7 or something like that. It starts with
Hmm.
uh it starts with a oh my god. It starts with Batman and Catwoman, two-parter episode, which is like not the beginning of the series, but it's bizarre.
Hmm.
Um I'm not going to probably watch any of the older shows like the Adventures of Batman, etc., like the older shows. I'm going to start with the Batman the animated series and then work my way through that.
Yeah.
And then the movies, do all that nonsense. So much movies and content. Um
Hmm.
but I've never really engaged with any DC content except for like, like the Dark Knight.
Mm,
That's pretty much that might honestly be it. Actually, now that I think about it, yeah, maybe there's also like another Batman movie. I think the two films might be the only DC content that I guess Teen Titans. I watched Teen Titans as a kid a little bit.
mhm.
But everything else, yeah, it just never like struck a chord with me. And I kept seeing so many shorts of like interesting things that I'm like, you know what? I'll watch some of this. This seems like it would be good.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't think I have anything to report on that besides that show is very good. I mean, notably so. It's kind of very impressive how decent of a show it is, especially for the time. I think was that like a I wanna one sec. I want to say like 92, but I might be very wrong. Uh,
Okay. By the
yes, it
way,
was
I'm looking at your
1992.
watch order. This is very I think this is pretty much the same as the one that I have.
Mhm.
Um, I think the one that I have just doesn't include. I think it's Gotham Girls and Lobo, like the webtoons.
Yeah.
But I could throw them in there. Yeah, this one's probably better than mine actually. Because the one I have, I did slightly modify it to not put Batman Beyond at the end, because that's kind
hmm
of cringe. But this one did specify that you're like supposed to watch one of the Justice League episodes later, so it's like it's fine.
I hate. So what really sucks is what anything comic related, and especially like reading comics. Like I want to read Ultimate Spider-Man, and it's like once you start getting into the annuals and all these like spin-offs where there's crossover, it really starts to suck. Where it's like I just want if I could just have like a queue of everything I need to watch in the best order, and I don't have to think about it. Like if I have to start thinking about it for more than 2 seconds, then it's just I'm over it.
Yeah,
With all the crossover stuff.
yeah, I would say like so what I had initially thought with with the DC animated universe is like, oh, I'll just watch it in a release order. But
hmm
then you have stuff like so the third season of Batman the animated series and Superman the animated series are meant to be watched side by side. So like you're supposed to watch like one episode of one, then another episode of the other because they aired at the same time. It's like,
Oh
well, okay,
God.
release order doesn't really work in that case.
See, that's where and then that happens with like the comics too, where it's like, and the funny thing is where a lot of stuff sometimes stuff will happen in those where it doesn't actually really matter. And also, I found this in crossovers. If you like Ultimate Spider-Man, like this is more comics wise. I really liked Ultimate Spider-Man. I like the writing and I like the characters. And then they would be in the annual, and then Spider-Man would turn from like basically like a teenager to like a 47-year-old man in
Hmm.
like just build like he'd grow like 4 feet, and he would be like talking about Tony Stark's sex tape, and
Oh, the
this is a
classic.
real thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Where I'm like reading Ultimates and I'm like, cool. And then I'm like, I hadn't read any of the annual stuff because I didn't understand it until like later. So I read the annual, and it's just like, meanwhile, Tony Stark's dealing with a sex tape while Hawkeye just murdered everyone in his life, and I'm like, what? Like, it's just like the weirdest, edgiest stuff. Spider Man's like 47 years old, and then it goes back to they're in high school again. It's weird, and
Hmm.
they just kind of don't bring it up except for like, hey, it's Wolverine. I remember you from Panama. Like they have like one offhanded line, and I'm like, no, I don't. I don't remember him from Panama. What did I miss? Um, then I'm not reading Spider-Man Ultimate Spider-Man 174 and then reading Ultimate X-Men 7, then Ultimate Spider-Man 174 part 2, then Ultimate Spider and then like read one of these and then like one of the I'm like I'm not doing that. That's this is awful. This is
Hmm.
truly so bad. It's so hard to get into any of this. Um I'm hoping with the animated shows though I can just watch them and enjoy them.
Yep.
But anyway,
What?
that is Batman moment. I'll talk about one more topic. I have a couple topics that I like queued up here.
Hmm.
Um, I guess I'll talk about I've been playing. Oh, I've been all right. Here. I'll talk about the blast from the past. So I've this whole podcast. I've had Cookie Clicker open, the Steam version of Cookie Clicker. I'm not actively
Ooh.
clicking cookies, but I'm checking in periodically. I'm back into Cookie Clicker. I had played that back in the day. Have you ever played Cookie Clicker?
Yes, I did play Cookie Clicker. I actually played it in college.
Hmm. Did you get the Steam release or were you playing in browser?
No, I was just playing in browser.
So I think the Steam release, I don't know if it has more content, but I know it has cloud
More
saving, which is cool.
content.
Yeah, no, how far did you get in Cookie Clicker?
I don't remember honestly. I was just clicking cookies, man.
Okay, you don't know then. Like you gotta these games. There's stuff like um So with Cookie Clicker now, there's so much more updates in Cookie Clicker, where there's a stock market that you can use your cookies and then like trade stocks. There's a farming with like a plant cross pollination
Hmm.
element. I have spells right now. I've been casting spells throughout the pod
Casting spells.
to duplicate my cookies. Yeah, and there's like there's like a lot to it. There's like a weirdly high amount of it, and I'm like, you know what? I remember why Cookie Clicker is like the king. It's one of the older and still the king of the idle clicking game because other games, idle clickers are kind of awful. A lot of idle clicker games are kind of bad, and a lot of them are kind of generic where it's just like, okay, click on this type of enemy, blah blah blah. Cookie
Hmm.
Clicker, I feels like keeps it fresh enough that you're kind of and you're really interested like what is coming next. Like it's very bizarre and it's not that intrusive. You just have it open in the background. Like I could be playing and it's super lightweight. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to just play a completely different game for like 3 hours and then I'll just open Cookie Clicker and see what happens, you know.
Hmm.
Um it's very fun, good time. And yeah, I bought it and was like, maybe I'll play a little bit as see if I remember. And no, I'm back and like hooked on it.
You're back to
Really
clicking
good
on
game.
cookies.
Back to
Just like
clicking.
that.
Gotta love clicking them cookies.
Yep.
You ever play any idle clicker games outside of Cookie Clicker?
Not sure. Can't
Hmm.
really remember. I
That
probably
that
did in
seems like
like high
an
school.
answer. Yeah.
Yeah, I probably did in high school just to waste some time.
Hmm. I think if it's your main, like it's not like a main monitor. It's definitely like it's not even open. It's like on the secondary monitor closed kind of
Yeah.
game. Um, but it's a good distraction to kind of like goof around. It's almost more like a little like desk toy or something that you mess with.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, if I were to work a 9 to 5 office job, I could definitely see myself getting really into cookie clicker.
yeah. What's weird is well, yeah, that would be actually very distracting. Like that's like a next level. I mean, it was kind of like doing RuneScape at work or something like that, like cutting logs. But yeah, I tried to explain Cookie Clicker the concept to someone who doesn't really play games, and it's just a baffling concept to explain. Like, why do you like what enjoyment are you getting out of this? And I'm like, well, see, the cookies, they go up, and it's like if
Dopamine.
I get the upgrades, the cookies can go up so fast that eventually the cookies will like go. I'll have so many cookies. I'll have built
Yes.
trillions and trillions of cookies quickly.
Yes.
There's a dopamine switch thing in these kind of games. I think very exemplified greatly in old school RuneScape, where it's basically the idle clicker brought into an MMO version, which is like two of my like dopamine switches, which is why I
Hmm.
very much do enjoy that game to a point. Except I don't like paying $11, or I think they raised it to like 13 or whatever. I don't like paying monthly fees. They give me monthly
Yeah.
fees, give me insane FOMO, which I'm already dealing with like
Insane FOMO.
I'm kind of done with Overwatch 2 for a bit, but I have the battle pass and I actually like the
Hmm.
costumes on the like I like the skins this time. So I'm like I kind of don't want to play this, but I'll play like 5 matches a day just to goof
Yeah.
around and get some battle pass points. And it's not that bad, but it is like I wouldn't probably be playing this if I didn't pay for the battle pass or like fear that I will miss out on the battle pass items. So psychology
Hmm.
wins again.
Yep.
All right. And speaking of psychology, that's the end of the podcast. That's not a segue. I don't know. I have brain rot from playing Cookie Clicker. Um,
Psychology.
James, who are you?
Uh, I'm somebody.
And I'm Matt, aka Matt Fondude, on Twitch and Twitter and what? I'm not. Don't even find. Don't even at me on Twitter. Just find me on YouTube or Twitch. I mean, I'm on Twitter. It's not even called Twitter anymore. Don't even. I don't think anyone cares about that anymore. Like
I don't think
the
I've ever
X
met
name,
somebody who calls it X.
unless you're saying like ironically. Um,
Yeah.
it's just that was the fun. That was kind of a fun genre or not genre. That was a fun like time of our lives where that mattered at all. Like X. And now it's just like, oh yeah, X.
Man,
That's kind of funny.
I really missed Twitter before Elon Musk took over.
This is the same thing. It's the same garbage. Oh well. Anyway, end of podcast. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.